Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. I've got a few thoughts I'd like to share with you this morning, and I want you to consider, and I'd like some feedback on some of this. The theme of the things I'm going to be talking about can be summed up in a single phrase. If you enforce it, you are complicit. I'm of course referring to the events surrounding the Canadian Freedom Truckers convoy. I've been keeping an eye on this protest from the very beginning, and I cannot begin to tell you how much I admire the people who are standing up and those who are providing aid and support, anyone who's donated, anyone who's even speaking up on their behalf. I admire everyone and this solidarity enormously. It isn't just about what's going on in Canada, it's about every freedom-loving person in this entire world, and particularly within the Anglosphere, of which the United States is obviously a part. These protesters have been enduring truly difficult conditions. The Canadian winter is no joke. And if that wasn't enough, the nastiness from the politicians is making things even worse for them. But despite all of that, the protests have been nonviolent. There's been no burning or looting, which is more than can be said for Antifa or BLM riots. And these people, they're not even armed. They're just protesting and demanding the restoration of their natural rights, and they are advocating for freedom. That shouldn't be controversial in the slightest. But it is to those nasty little despot politicians who are acting like dictators. And these dictators are using the police, as well as some as yet unidentified troops, to oppress the people. These politicians, for all of their titles and all of the waste paper that says they're empowered to do this or they're entitled for this or that or the other, these are impotent, powerless people. The only power they have is by making the police and the military enforce their decrees. As you have the police and the military saying no, then poof, these politicians are irrelevant. And that is why I'm bringing up this idea that if you are enforcing something, especially if you know it to be wrong, you are 100% culpable for the consequences and the act itself. You are just as guilty as the person who issued the order. So no more hiding. No more hiding. When the politicians seek to oppress the people, as we're watching right now, real time in Canada, the police and military need to finally wake up and smell the coffee and realize they are in a position to make this nightmare stop. It stops when they say no. It stops when they say, I refuse the order. It stops when they say the Canadian Charter of whatever, human rights, whatever it happens to be, that forbids me from doing this. My conscience does not permit me to do this. No, this is not what I signed up for. You cannot make me. I am not going to war against my own people. It stops when the police and the military say that to Justin Trudeau. No politician has the right to persecute the people, or to step outside the bounds of his or her office as defined by the constitutions within a particular country and the people themselves. Never forget, the people are the ultimate arbiters of whether or not a government is legitimate. When the politicians are out of line, it's the duty of the military and the police to refuse unlawful and immoral orders, and quite frankly, to be going up to these politicians and placing them under arrest. That is their responsibility. And when that doesn't occur, well, people notice. Not just me, but plenty of other freedom people are noticing their unwillingness to do what needs to be done. I'm only following orders. It's no excuse. And before I recorded this video, I had seen a video of this Canadian police officer. She was based in Ottawa, explaining how she and other officers, they don't like what the government is doing, but when they speak up, they get reprimanded, and so they can't do anything about it. I want you to think about what this mealy-mouthed little bitch just said. Reprimanded. A reprimand is apparently enough to stop her and other officers from doing the right thing and siding with the people. A reprimand. A reprimand in comparison with what the protesters are facing, which is endless retribution, job loss, frozen bank accounts, seized property, seized pets who are probably going to be put down after a certain period of time, lost custody of their children, being slandered by politicians, being threatened with jail time. Mounted police trampled an old woman and her walker. Did you see that video? It's all around the internet now. They've been actively intimidating people who are doing nothing more than trying to get a cup of coffee in what was apparently the wrong area. There are leaked and verified reports of the police just absolutely celebrating that protesters are getting hurt. And they're hoping that they get to take part. They're looking forward to being part of the effort to crack down and hurting people. I'm going to say in this video what I wrote to the officer who was making her pathetic little excuses. What you enforce, you are responsible for. If you execute an order, you are complicit in it. You are not a victim. Do not make excuses that are a slap in the face to every person who's being persecuted for standing up for freedom. Choose a side. As for everybody else, if you're watching this and you're in the military and law enforcement, know this. I don't care how much you have to lose. Everyone has skin in the game now, and the people who stand up to tyranny risk just as much, if not more, than you do. I don't care if you're scared. Everyone is scared, and you accepted a job that requires you to set fear aside. So I'm not interested in your excuses. You break your oath to the people, and you have betrayed your country. It makes you a collaborator with tyrants and a traitor. And as far as I'm concerned, you should be on trial, facing the maximum penalty for crimes against the people. Now, you have a limited period of time to redeem yourself, so I suggest you make the most of it. No one has any reason to trust you after you enforce the COVID restrictions. None. These are the consequences for your actions and for siding with despots. Now, either you remember who you are supposed to be and start siding with the people, or accept that you are the 21st century version of the Gestapo and understand you will be held accountable for that choice. Now, for those watching this who back the blue, current events should demonstrate, far more eloquently than anything I could say, why you should never blindly support any institution. It doesn't matter if you have a friend or a relative in uniform. If you think they would never do that, think back to the kind of orders they were following during COVID, things they said that they had to do because it's what they were told to do, that they had no choice. If they enforce those edicts, then don't be so sure that they are incapable of committing the kind of shameful acts that we are seeing in Canada. The institution your loved ones belongs to serves the state. Not justice, not the nation, not the people. Just tyrannical politicians who are showing the world their true colors. Lastly, for anyone who thinks that this is the time to shrink back, bend the knee, do what you're told, cast those thoughts aside. Compliance won't save you. You can't make yourself small enough to render yourself invisible to controlling people and to those who are willing to carry out their orders. This is the time for defiance, a time for non-compliance, and a time to stop making excuses. And that's what I have to say, at least up to this point. Let me know what you have to say. You can do so either on Discord at Blackbird's Brew. There's a link to join in the description box below, or you can do it here by leaving a comment on this channel. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.